Hey, Coach, just wanted to ask how Blake in such a so quickly has been able to pick up this offense. Typically, we've seen quarterbacks take some time to adjust to a new system, new coach, but it feels like right out of the chute, Blake had a command like he was running this offense his whole career.
Uh, he's just done a great job. I mean, he's really smart. Um, and he's improved a ton fundamentally just as a passer, just not just the way his throwing mechanics are, but the way his footwork is, the way he sees coverages. The game is slowing down for him.
Yep.
He's a hard worker too. He's but I didn't know that he was going to be, he's really surprised me as a runner because you just don't know, because you don't really tackle the guys in practice live most of the time with your QBs.
Yeah.
So he is truly a dual threat, and his decision making has been really, really good. So he can handle a lot, and he understands what we're trying to do. So I think his mind, as much as anything, he's been able to grasp concepts and grow in them, and he studies it, and um, he just absorbs information. And his accuracy and just decision making have really come a long way since the very first day of practice in the spring.
Just to expand further on the decision making, is that all preparation, or is something instinctive about him and his kind of personality that lets him do that, or is it a combination? Would you say?
I think it's both. I think there's some guys who are able to see the game. They're able to understand what we're teaching them, and whether it's the progressions or the timing or whatever the defense is doing. And once they grasp it and understand it, and then it slows down. And I think that's what's happening for him. He just has the ability to play the position, both from a physical standpoint and a mental standpoint, and just the way he is, just as a person. I think he's. I don't think. I think he puts bad plays behind him really quickly. Um, so he's able to just play one play at a time, and I think he's having fun. I mean, you see, it's funny, we were laughing. The long touchdown versus Memphis he had at the end of the game when you slowed it down and zoomed it. He's smiling while he's like he's having fun.
Yeah.
And I think that's really a big piece of that. I think Ivan's done a great job coaching him. Um, so I think he fits what we're doing. Okay. I think it really is it fits perfectly the way he is and his skill set. So really pleased with his progress.
And as a leader, obviously, anyone who comes to the Naval Academy is going to be a leader. But on the field, would you describe him as a vocal, by example, kind of a combination of both? How have kind of players been drawn to him as a leader?
Yeah, both. I mean, he leads by example, but he also is vocal. It's not crazy over the top vocal, but he is vocal, and he does a great job communicating, whether it's schematically or whether it's just being positive, whatever it is. He does a really good job communicating with his teammates, and they respect him and they believe in him. That's the main thing, is they know he can play, and he distributes the ball. He gets the ball to the right guys in the right situations. And it's really positive. It's really just the way all the guys get along and the way they work together. It's really a lot of fun to coach them.
Thank you, Coach.
Scott Wyckoff, WBAL.
Coach, what kind of challenges does it pose for you in the offense when you're game planning and going into a game like this against a defense that's so familiar with the type of offense that you run?
Oh, it's extremely challenging. I mean, they're good on defense. They lost some of the personnel from last year. They were really good on defense last year. I say one of the best defenses in the country last year, and they still do the same thing schematically. They still teach. I mean, their guys play really, really sound football, and they schematically present a lot of problems because they're aggressive and they line up, and they're very multiple. They're smart, tough kids, so it's a great challenge to have to go out there and try to win a game in a place that we haven't done that in a while. But they got tough, gritty kids just like we do, and obviously they're not having maybe the season that they would like to be having, but you can throw all that out the window, this weekend. You got to go play really good in a big game at their home. So yeah, they got our attention. Believe me, I've been in here studying and studying and studying and trying to figure it out. So they are really good on defense.
That said, what does it mean for you to have your first opportunity to coach in an academy game? And do you notice the difference this week around the offices and out in the practice field?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I'm excited about the opportunity to go to I've never been to that stadium. I've never been to Colorado Springs. I've been to Colorado a few times to snow ski, but just short little trips. So I know it's a beautiful place. But yeah, it's is it there is a different feel, but every game's important, right? I mean, it's every game presents challenges, but certainly we understand and I understand uh that a CIC game is just it's one notch higher. But it makes it exciting. I know our guys will be ready to play. I think they're really excited about the challenge. So yeah, you can feel that for sure.
And are you excited about having an opportunity to have a practice, a walkthrough actually there with your feet on the ground?
Sure. I think that's good. I think it's a good thing that we're going out there a little bit early, acclimate a little bit. It's a long trip. So just getting there, getting settled in, be able to have some practice there, have some meetings there at the hotel, let the guys get 2 good nights sleeps, I think is really good.
Thanks, Coach.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Wagner, Baltimore Sun Media Group.
Drew, can you kind of talk about how much of a Navy has not moved the ball against Air Force hardly at all in the last 4 years? If you go and look at the numbers, they're pretty ugly. I think last year Navy had something like 68 total yards, 22 yards rushing. It's been like that consistently. I went back and looked at the numbers, and except for the 2019 game, ever since 2018, the Navy has not been able to move the ball at all against this team. Can you talk about, this would be a huge statement if you were able to do so?
Sure. And believe me, that's got my attention. I've watched the games. I've gone back a couple of years watching some of those games. So, but we can't, this is a new team and we're playing with a lot of confidence but we understand the challenge that's there. We understand how Service Academy football is just different. And so they run some similar things that we do. So they have a greater understanding, right, of us offensively. And so, what does that look like for us? How do we still be good at what we've been good at, but have the right wrinkles to put in there to give our kids a really good opportunity, And so that's something that I'm excited about. I'm also sweating over and losing a little sleep over. So that's just kind of me anyway. So, but going against Air Force, knowing how good they've been, like I said, I've watched a lot of great defensive film on them. And so I think this is big for our team. I think we've got to go, and I don't want our guys. One of the main themes we talked about this year is playing loose, playing fast, not worried about making mistakes. And we don't want our guys to, hey, this is we're playing Air Force, so now we gotta, we want to get all tense and we want to turn it loose and go play fast. That's what's given us chances so far this season, and I think the same thing holds true this weekend. So we're going to try to give our young men a really good plan, and then let them go play, turn them loose, don't make it too complex, and give those guys a chance to go execute.
Well, that's what the reason that Air Force and Army have defended Navy so well is because they know the option, but you're not just running option anymore. Do you think the elements that you're bringing with your wing T attack will be foreign to Air Force and Army? I mean, I would think that's part of why Coach Newberry hired you, is that to do something different that Army and Air Force are not so familiar with. Do you feel like that's a game changer? And, that Air Force and Army can't say that they know how to defend this offense. They've never faced it.
I sure hope you're right, Wags. I'm I hope that's true. No, I mean, certainly, but there's still, football is football, and being able to defend and play assignment football, because we have run a lot of traditional option things this fall. Hopefully we're more versatile and maybe a little harder to defend, a little harder to prepare for. But the bottom line is still players going and executing, and that's what our guys have been doing. So it's not, I think we have a good system, but it's not. I promise you, it's not about a system or a new coach. This is a lot of people that are doing a good job. It's an offensive staff that's been able to put their heads together and form a hybrid offense with a lot of input from everybody, and then a lot of young men who are going out and they're talented players and they're executing at a high level. So we're going to do whatever we can to try to put our guys in a good situation to be successful, and that's all I know to do. I tell you all the time, I'm a man of faith. I believe that if you work hard and try to do things the right way, good things happen, and that's what we try to preach to our guys. So that's what we're going to try to do. If we go turn the ball over 5 times, we're going to get beat. Okay, we hadn't been beating ourselves. We've not turned the ball over the last 3 weeks. We've not had a ton of penalties. Had a couple more this past week, but we've not had a ton of penalties. We've not given up sacks, and we've been able to hit explosion plays. So that's a recipe to win against anybody you're playing, and we've got to do those things this Saturday to have an opportunity to do that. And I think if we do those things, we'll be in great shape.
Heather Dinich, ESPN.
Coach, I was looking at Blake's total QBR yesterday, and he's number 1 in the country ahead of the likes of Cam Ward, Jalen Milroe, Cade Klubnik, the who's who in the country. And I'm wondering, first of all, does that surprise you to know that?
He's been playing pretty good. I mean, he's been very efficient. I think I'd seen, Scott's always sending us, he's a stat guy, Scott. I see you back there. He's a stat guy. He's always sending us some stuff. And I think it's really neat. It's nice to see those things. He's being extremely productive and efficient. I think that's efficient may be the most important word. And he's taking what defense has given him. And then when they've given him the big play, he's hit it. Let's see if he can still be number 1 at the end of the season. That really would be some good stuff. So, but no, he's a good football player. Okay. I know a lot of times people say, we have a lot of really good football players here. Kids who can, I think, play, anywhere in the country. And, maybe they're 2 inches short, or maybe they're, 10 pounds light. But we have some kids who can run and do some things and play the football. And Blake's running by people. And, it doesn't shock me that I didn't know that it was going to be quite to this, but I thought he was going to have a good year. I just saw enough in the spring and the preseason to think that he had a chance. Right. And so now every time he goes on the field, he gets better. That's what's so really, there's some kids who just, the more they play, the more information they absorb, the more they see things and things slow down. And I think that's what's continuing to happen for him. So I know I say it every week. He hadn't played a lot of football. I guess he's played one more game now. But I do think he's going to continue to improve. And he did a lot of good things with his legs the last week. The last long touchdown drive we had against UAB, I think was maybe 95 yards or something like that. And he probably ran the ball 5 times on that drive. He hit 2 big passes that really put the game out of reach. And so he did a little bit of everything. And I think that's just that one drive is an example of the things he's done this season about decision-making and making the plays when he has to, and being able to run the ball, throw the ball, execute option, be able to pitch it when he needs to pitch it. We need him to keep doing that.
You touched on this a little bit. How does he sustain it? Not can he, but how does he?
I think keeping a level head. I think just being able to, and I think that's something he does well. He even talks about getting recentered. Okay. And just each week being able to, okay, this is what we did this Saturday. Okay. We can learn from the things we did. Okay. Whether good or bad. And then the next Saturday is a whole different challenge. And so what you did the previous week in a lot of ways doesn't mean anything. It means something if you learn from it and grow and continue to move forward. And so I think he's done a good job because, Coach Newberry talks about choking on the sugar, and that's true. It happens, right? And he's been able he's had a lot of sugar tossed on him, and I've seen him be able to recenter. His thing we challenged him with last week was starting faster because he had not started really well. The first series of each of the first 3 games, he just had not started well, and he kind of eased into the game and then really played well after that. But he came out lights out Saturday, and so he continues to take steps forward. Now let's go do it versus Air Force, right? Let's go continue to move forward and play at a high level and be a good decision maker and not let the things that don't matter. Okay, there's a lot of noise out there that means nothing for us, right? We need to be able to block that out, not listen to it, and just continue to do the things that we've been doing, that he's been doing, that gives him success. And I think he'll do that.
Thank you.
Joe Miller, Navy Radio Network.
Hey, Coach, I wanted to ask about the offensive line a little bit. The pass protection has been fantastic for you guys this season. Run blocking has been great as well, but what has been the sort of the key to success? I mean, pass blocking has always been it's seemingly been a little bit of an issue here, but what has been the key to their success so far through 4 games?
Well, I think they're doing a good job with it. I think they're being coached well. Okay. And I hope that our system, we certainly don't want to get in a lot of situations where people can just pin their ears back, right, and just rush the passer. Okay. So hopefully we're able to mix things up and be a good play action team, have some screens in there, which we've been able to, have some success on some screens, and run the football in such a way that people have to play assignment football, and all those things together don't allow you to pin your ears back and just rush the passer, like you would like to. So I think it's all those things. I think the kids are doing a good job. Those guys up front are doing a good job. They're being coached really well by Coach Guillermo, Coach Lauren Dean, Coach McDonald. And then our system hopefully, puts them in situations where, they can, do a better job in pass protection because people just can't line up wide and just go. We have to make sure that we do a good job in every down and distance of mixing things up, so we're unpredictable, and I think that helps them as well.
We've talked the last 2 games. We talked a little bit about the middle 8, those last 4 minutes of the first half and the first 4 minutes of the second half. You guys have been
last
awesome.
2 games has been good.
Yeah. In those spots, when you get into those 2-minute, are you a coach that likes to sort of have like certain scripted plays for 2 minutes? And my follow-up question to that would be, like, at halftime, what are some of your key goals, or what are you trying to do as far as assess what's going on? I know you guys are always assessing what's going on in the first half, but do you kind of go out with a second half game plan based on the first half results, or still a mix of like what you want to accomplish coming into the game plan from the game
I think
plan?
it's both. I think you're trying to make adjustments. I mean, obviously with the iPads, you're probably making some adjustments a little earlier than maybe you would normally, or how it used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to do too much at halftime. Okay. You want to give them, a couple things, a couple adjustments. And then I think you're asking me about 2-minute. I mean, it just depends on the situation. 2-minute, a lot of people go, oh gosh, there's only, 2 minutes in the half. Well, sometimes that's an eternity if you've got all 3 timeouts and a 2-minute warning now, so you want to be able to stay in your base offense as much as possible and continue to mix it up. Now there comes a moment where you just, there's not enough time, so you got to push the ball down the field a little bit more. But still what we do offensively, I think a good example was what happened right before the half against UAB. I mean, you show a little bit of option, even with maybe a little bit less than a minute to go, and you're able to get a one-on-one situation, like we did with Nate Kent right there. So sometimes it just works out. I mean, we've been very fortunate too. The very first game, we throw a little screen thinking, hey, let's see if we can, gain 15 yards on this first play. And Chat, takes it the distance. We were all screaming at him to get out of bounds on that, at that one, but he ended up coming out of there and scoring. So every situation's different. I think we got the ball back against Memphis, probably with seemed like there was just under 3 minutes to go in the half, so we were able to stay in our base offense. And I think, one of the big plays in that drive was Blake keeping the ball on a power read. So he went about 50 yards. Well, all of a sudden we're on their 30, and we still had plenty of time, so we could still run a lot of different things. So every situation is different. How many timeouts do you have? But we've been very fortunate. We've done a good job at the end of halves, and I think we've done a good job coming out on the first drive of the second half. Gosh, have we played 4 games? It seems like we scored a touchdown the first drive of every second half. It may have just been 3 of them, but that's been, the kids have done a good job coming out and getting something done in the third quarter.
I think it is 4, all 4. Stacy's saying yes as well.
One other thing on Blake, you talked about, being a little surprised at maybe some of the, the running and explosiveness there. But are you, at this point, are you a little surprised that he's averaging, 12 attempts per game rushing, or is that kind of where you thought it would be?
That's probably about right.
Yeah.
That's what I think. What have we been averaging? Maybe not quite 60 plays again. I think the last 2 games.
Yeah, you haven't played a lot of plays the last 2 games. Yeah.
So you would think he'd at least have 8 attempts, something like that. It just depends on the game and what they're giving us. When there's options involved, you don't know who's going to end up with the ball a lot of times. So, but then there's been some things where you're trying to get him in space, because he can run by you. You make one wrong step, now he can run by you, and he can run by people's secondary guys too. So we just want to, like I said, continue to mix that up and be unpredictable with some of those things. And but like I said, I didn't know he was good. Blake has the ability to make a really, really good subtle cut without slowing down, which is that not everybody has that ability. So he is sneaky elusive, and then he's explosive and gets to top speed really quickly.
Thanks, Coach.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Conley had today, we were 92nd in drives per game and 9th in scoring per game, averaging 11 drives per game.
Is that good, Scott? I don't even know. What does that mean?
That is good. That means we're averaging 11 drives per game, which is 92nd in the country. We're scoring over 40 points per game, which is 9th in the country. So we're taking advantage of every drive, basically.
Well, hope we can keep that up some way, shape, or form. But
sure. Let's see. We're back. Gene, Washington Post. We're going to 2 questions now. We got about 7 minutes.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about the kind of the chemistry on offense with Blake. I asked you this about his leadership ability, but kind of how he interacts with the offensive line and kind of in the huddle, kind of how he kind of the respect that he gets in the huddle from his teammates. How would you kind of describe that?
Yeah, I think it's a really healthy relationship. I think they're able to pick at each other, just as much as they're able to, and then it's time to get serious. And
yeah,
I think Blake has the ability of conveying confidence without it being arrogance. Okay, so he has that ability to do that. And he has a toughness about him. That if your quarterback, first of all, if he needs the right skill set, obviously, but if he's tough and he's a competitor, and the guys believe he's going to get him in the end zone, that's what you're looking for. Okay, that's they when they believe we're going to win because he's in the game. Yeah. Everybody else just plays better, so plays freer. So I think there is a mutual respect amongst these young men, and I think Eli talked about it after one of the games about the word brotherhood, and this is truly, a lot of people say that, but this is special, and it's been a privilege for me to just watch and be a part of. Is the way these young men handle themselves and handle all the things that are asked of them. and they are the best there is in this country.
Right.
And there's no question. I mean, every day I learn something. I'm in awe of what they do daily and how much effort they give this football team. It's phenomenal. It's what I want my son to be a part of, and so that's the kind of that these are the best young men in the world. And then you put on top of that, I get to be around coaches that care about the players, which is really important to me. It's not a business. This is young men that we're trying to help be the best they can be. And so I think we have that here at a high level. So I'm challenged every day just being around the other men on the staff and the players. It's such a positive experience, and you really want to do everything you can to help the other people be successful. That's how everybody acts. So it's kind of a perfect storm of just a bunch of guys that they're not perfect. I'm not saying nobody's perfect here, but a lot of people are special, okay, and do a great job and care about each other, unselfish. And that all starts with Coach Newberry. That's who he is, So you see that, and I feel very fortunate just to be around this on a daily basis. It's made me better.
I'm sure the coaching staff has looked at the weather forecast. It's supposed to be close to 90 on Saturday. When you couple that with, obviously the altitude,
it's going to be like being in Macon, Georgia, man. It's going to be awesome.
There we go. Prepare for that or simulate for that? Obviously it's not 90 degrees here now. So, is there anything you can do?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't know. I don't. We can put a bunch of heaters on out there or something. I think we got to talk about it. I think we've got to.
Yeah.
We've got to realize how important it is to make sure we're taking care of our bodies and hydrating and eating the right way. I think that'll certainly probably affect both teams somewhat. But we got to be able to handle that. We've been in the heat here. It was a hot summer, unusually hot for this area. But that's certainly something. I was looking at the weather forecast this morning. It was saying like a high of 86 there. I think we're kicking off at 10 a.m. So it probably, we might miss the brunt of some of that. But still, it'd be a little warmer than what we've been dealing with the last few weeks.
Wags, give me your best question. We got about 5 minutes. Is Wags still here? Okay, Heather, give me your best question. Yep.
Heather was in line before me. Sorry.
Huh?
He said I was in line before him.
My bad. Go ahead, Heather.
My only question, I just wanted to give you an opportunity just for the national college football audience who might not be super familiar with your quarterback. We got the scouting report, but just as a human being, is there anything that you think people should know about him? Any anecdotes or anything that illustrates the things that you've been talking about in the locker room, or his grades or his anything like that? Who is this kid?
Yeah, I just think he's so consistent. I mean, everything is quality. And even he's a young man of faith as well. I mean, it's just that he's about the right things. But they'll sit in that meeting room, and he and Tesco will pick at each other. And Daba, they all give Daba a hard time because he's got that, hey guys voice, and it's such a, it's like brothers sitting in there, and they give each other a hard time, but then when they go play together, you can see it, right? You can see how much they care about each other's success. So that's kind of just the daily, you've sat in a meeting and you're there with us, and they have fun together. They pick at each other. They'll pick at me, but they don't do it in such a way that, it's always, doesn't cross the line. I mean, you know what I mean? So it's fun to be around Blake Horvath. Okay. He's a fun guy to be around. I trust him. I would trust him. My most prized possessions are my 3 boys. Okay. And I would trust him with them. And that's, I think, the biggest compliment I give somebody is I trust him. and he takes ownership in his mistakes. Okay. I mean, he just, so the quality of his character, like a lot of our guys, is just, it's just phenomenal.
I'll give you one more, Heather. He's also an academic All-American candidate. He's got a 3.49 in operations research.
Smart
Wags,
dude.
yes, he is. Wags, we got 3 minutes literally. And
all right, last question. Obviously Blake has performed very well to date, but you know, a lot of your legacy is defined by how you perform in these service academy games. How big is this for Blake to, show that he can do it on the big stage against one of the rivals?
I mean, it's big. It's we all know that. But I don't want what is he supposed to do? Play harder? I mean, or play. I mean, what does anybody want from him? So I just want him to go be himself and play the best of his ability. I think sometimes we get caught up so much on those things that really are just noise. Honestly, it's going to be great to talk about afterwards. But right now you got a bunch of young men who just need to go play their best game this Saturday, and not worry about what everybody else is saying about them. And I think we're living in a world where everybody's scared to death of failure and paralyzes everybody. I just want him to go play free. You know what? All I can ask is to go do the best he can. We certainly, he's got to play good to give us a chance to win, but that's every week. But we certainly understand that these games are important. Okay, these CIC games are big and mean a lot to a lot of people, and I certainly have a great appreciation for that. But I don't want him to worry about nothing except going out there and competing and having fun and executing and leading his teammates. That's all I want him to do.
Well, Air Force struggling offensively, only averaging about 12.5 points a game. What are you seeing? And I guess you got to guard against them finally putting it all together against you.
I don't see a team that statistically looks like that, to be totally honest with you. And I thought they were really impressive this past game against Wyoming. To be honest with you, they look fast, they look physical. Obviously, the scheme is a incredible challenge. We know what these games are like and how hard and how challenging they are, how grueling they are. We expect them to play the best game they've played all year. And I see it on film. You see them get better each and every week. So we know we got our hands full.
Obviously, Air Force has used motions and formations and all sorts of window dressing to try to get you distracted, get your eyes out in the wrong place. And they've gotten Navy in the past with some big plays, including last year with the 94-yard pass to Kinnaman. The fact that Navy now does this, you have been going against an offense that does a lot of window dressing itself since the spring. Do you think that helps you in this game?
Yeah, I don't think it's anything new than what we had faced previously. The eye discipline is always going to be critical in every football game, and especially in CIC games. Is you have to play with incredible eye discipline, and when you don't, you put the whole team, the whole program in jeopardy. And those things are just inexcusable, and we cannot have those issues. We've got to make sure that we're crystal clear with what our job is, what our job description is, where our eyes need to be on every single play, that we're ultra hyper focused on executing whatever we're asking each individual to execute on each particular play. And obviously our offense is extremely challenging to play. So those things do help, but I don't think it's anything different than years past.
Last for me for now, what do you see out of their quarterback? He doesn't have a lot of experience. He hasn't played much, just a little backup role last season, but what are you seeing?
I mean, I see the same thing that I see from the offense in general, is just every week he gets better and better, and I see a guy that as he goes out there and plays more and more, you see more and more experience, you see more comfortability, you see more playmaking ability. You see him get the ball to his playmakers in space and make good decisions. As he gets out there and gets more game reps. And we talk about around here, reps are like gold. Now that he's got several games under his belt, you're going to see him just continue to grow and get better and better. And we know the coaching staff there does an amazing job as well. They'll put together a plan that he can go out there and execute, and we've got to go out there and execute as well.
Scott Wyckoff.
Coach, what makes Coach Calhoun's option unique, and why do you think it's been successful as long as it has been?
Well, I think their mindset of what they do, I think their guys play extremely hard. I think they're disciplined. I think they know what their job is and how to accomplish their job. And I think it all starts up front with the offensive line. I think it always has. Is they got an offensive line that gets off the ball and gets people on the ground and moves people. And then they schematically, they shift formations and move people around to different spots to run the same type of plays for the offensive line. And they do a great job with their skill people, moving their skill people around to create different mismatches and schematical advantage. So I think he's a heck of a football coach. I think Mike Thiessen's a heck of a football coach, their entire offensive staff. And they just do an excellent job getting guys in position to make plays and in positions where they feel comfortable to be able to go execute what they need to do on that particular play.
Really, since you've been at Navy, some real defensive battles. Is that all about the familiarity that these teams have with each other, the defense's familiarity with the offense?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we go up against similar things all fall camp, all spring. They're not the same offenses by any stretch of the imagination. None of us are, but there's a lot of familiarity to those things. And some of the issues that occur and some of the problems that occur. And, they know the same thing on the other side of the ball too, so it's a game of adjustments. It's a little bit of cat and mouse. But when it all comes down to it, it comes down to who plays the hardest and who makes the fewest mistakes.
Is the biggest impact of the altitude just early on in the game when guys just get situated and then they get used to it?
They have altitude there. Is that a thing? No, it does take guys a little bit to get used to it. I think our nutrition staff, our strength staff's working hard at those things to make sure our guys feel comfortable with everything that we've got going on, so that when we kick off, we're in the best shape possible for the climate that we're in.
And is that an advantage, being able to get in there a day early and do a walkthrough out there?
I think comfortability wise, whenever you get somewhere early, I think you just feel a little bit more comfortable being there, not being in a rush, takes away a little bit of the anxiousness, all those types of things. I don't know the science behind it. I'll be the first to tell you I don't know those things, but I trust all the smart people that we have here on campus and next door with Coach Newberry to be able to put together a great schedule for our guys that helps us achieve what we need to achieve.
Thanks a lot, Coach. Have a good trip.
Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it.
Joe Miller.
Hey, Coach, just going back to the UAB game and getting a chance to look at the film, what are some of the things that you liked and what are the things that you wanted to come out of that game and correct?
Yeah, I loved our mindset. I thought the guys really attacked practice all week long after a grueling game versus Memphis. A lot of tough situations going on where it would probably been easy to check out or have your mind someplace else, headed into that particular game. You played 100+ snaps with most of our guys with special teams included, 6 weeks exams, first road trip, not a raucous crowd there by any stretch of the imagination, a dreary day, CIC game in the horizon. And I think our guys really came out with a phenomenal mindset all week long, just focusing on being 1-0, whatever that rep was. And then I thought we came out and played really intense to start the game. and we're real dialed in. I think we need to learn how to finish people off when we have the opportunity. I think that's a big piece of it. And, football coaches, we're never really truly happy. So there's always things that we want to correct, and we just look to chase perfection. And a lot of those things always boil down to fundamentals. There's always fundamentals that we got to get better at. And we've got to do better at, specifically the things that we talk about all the time, or our block destruction, our tackling, our ball disruption. You get the ball on the ground, shoot 3 different times, fumble wise, and we don't get them. We had our hands on 2 more interceptions that we didn't get. Those are missed opportunities that we cannot afford moving forward.
As you mentioned, you guys were able to because of all the snaps, play a little bit more as far as snap wise. One of those guys was Justin Ross, who probably played more than he's played all season. What do you like about him in general, and how bright is his future for you guys?
He's got an exceptionally bright future, and I think I said it yesterday that the defense, I think you'd have to be blind at practice not to see the work ethic that he's started to develop. Really over about the last month or so, he's really started to come into his own, and I got to give Coach Green props as well. I think he's doing an amazing job with Justin, teaching him, the tools and the preparation that you need to have to play corner at this level. I think he's a big, long, strong, talented guy. You saw him make a couple tackles on Saturday. He's a willing tackler. We got to work on some of the technique stuff with that. He's got excellent ball skills. Practice is a direct correlation to what happens in the game. He picked off the last ball of Wednesday's practice. And then obviously he gets an opportunity. He picks off the last pass of the game, and you love seeing that for a guy that's just going out there, working his tail off at practice and doing the right things. But I just think, he is just scratching the surface of the type of player he's going to be. I think he has all the tools that we want at the cornerback position.
We often talk about development in the spring and in the summer camp, but when it gets in season, how do you preach that to the players that there's still opportunities there? And how do you as a coach kind of go through, and try to figure out, through practice and through different things, like who is still developing that that they get that opportunity to go out on the field and play?
Yeah, I think it's really important for us to develop during the season. And that is something that I feel strongly about. Like we on the defensive side of the ball, we rep our threes during practice, which I know we're probably one of just a handful of teams in the country that actually do that, and they get a significant amount of reps during a normal practice week. And I think that's really important to us. And we identify the guys that can physically do it and then mentally do it as well. And I think it's really important for us as coaches to keep our players engaged. I think our defensive staff does a great job shuffling around freshmen and bringing guys up so we can take a look at them so they can continue to develop their skills as the season moves along. You look at guys like, Ray Lane and Colin Ramos that played as freshmen. They didn't start the season off as starters, but then got a little burn on special teams, and I think Coach Brown does a great job with that. We talk about those things constantly as a staff. Is this guy's doing some really, really good stuff, with the practice reps that he's getting. Can we give him some type of role on special teams, and let's see how he can blossom and how he can start to get some confidence and executing that role on special teams. And then they go do that. And then they build some confidence and trust in themselves and, get a little bit more role on special teams. And eventually that starts to permeate over to what's going on defensively. And I think a lot of times young guys, Joe, don't quite understand how every practice rep is scrutinized. Like I think a lot of times guys, you come from high school, you come from wherever, and, you sort of check the box at practice. Not to say that you're not playing hard or not trying to do your job, but like, every step, every alignment, every hand placement, every movement scrutinized. We take hours and hours pouring through the practice film to make sure that everything's clean. And I think a lot of times young guys don't quite understand that practice reps are game reality. And that's really what we're looking for.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Pete Medhurst.
Coach, dramatically different this week compared to the last couple of weeks, just in terms of philosophy and what you'll face. Troy's as good as anybody at disguising what they do, except they're basically running the same package of plays. How do you teach this week and discern between the eyes and the lies that they'll see coming up this week?
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned it a little bit earlier. Is just eye discipline is so critical, in understanding where your eyes need to be, and then from there, you just have to let your rules apply by keeping your eyes on your key and not falling for all the other eye candy that's going on. And going against our offense and having those things for years and years and years. The guys that have had experience and played in these games, it's a little bit more I don't want to use that word. They've been there and seen that and know some of the things to expect from those things. And I think it's really important for our guys that have been there before to just remain calm, keep their eyes on their key, and just continue to let their rules apply. And it's a heck of a lot easier said than done. I'll be the first to tell you that. It's a heck of a lot easier said than done. They do a great job offensively, always have, always will, and we know we got to play great defensive football on Saturday. And the way to be able to do that is have a great practice today. That's where it all starts.
The fact that you brought it up earlier, guys just seem bought in every facet of this football team right now. Is that leadership encouraging that? Is that, obviously seeing the things you all are preaching in each meeting room and trying to stay on the same page as everybody, but what gets all of that to blend together right now, where it just seems like every guy in this uniform has a buy-in that's pretty significant?
Yeah, that all starts with Coach Newberry and just the philosophy that he has in terms of building this football team. And I think this is an extremely close group, and they play for each other and have legitimate excitement when anybody on the football team does something exceptional. And when things don't go our way, I think they have they're connected to each other and want to help that person continue to get better and understand that, adversity happens, and then we just got to wipe the slate clean and just continue to move on and go forward. And I think that all comes back to being the closest team that we possibly can be. And I think Coach Newberry did an amazing job with that since he's taken over, and really hasn't just let that be something that happens just because we're at the Naval Academy. Like, he's been proactive in building this team and the bond of this football team in a lot of different ways. And a lot of these guys have been around here a long time now and have been through adversity, and shared adversity forges a heck of a lot of bonds, man. And these guys have been through some adverse times and now are starting to see the fruits of their labor, which is awesome. But I think they're so grounded because of that adversity. They realize every week is 0-0, and we start with a fresh slate, and we got to get back in the lab and get back to work. But I just think there's a bond on this team that is extremely strong. And I think it all starts with our head football coach. And I think Jim Carizzi and the strength staff deserve a big part in that as well. I think that he does an amazing job down there building the football team in the off season, when it's not just, us out there running plays and doing those things. They're in the weight room doing hard, challenging things as well.
Appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Pete.
Wags, you're up.
PJ, I wanted to talk about Justin Reed. In my view, he's been a real force coming off the edge. He's got 6 tackles for loss, 3 sacks. I'm shocked that he's only credited with 2 quarterback hurries, because it seems like he's hurried the QB a hell of a lot more than that. But I think Jay Reed's been pretty damn impactful. Your thoughts?
Not every school keeps quarterback hurries wagged, so I would not put any stock into that.
Oh, okay.
We do, but sometimes others do not.
Yeah, I agree with you. He's been pretty daggone good. I love the way Jay Reed works. I mean, he was the player of the game for us this past week, and he's one of those guys. Played 100-something snaps, counting his special team reps against Memphis, and then came out, didn't miss a practice rep all week long. Was upset about how he played against Memphis, and then came back with a chip on his shoulder. It just shows the resolve that he has. That's why he's a leader on this football team. I think his work ethic, his character permeates throughout the defensive line group and our defense in particular. He just you'd love to have 1,000 of him, and there's a bunch of guys on the team you'd love to have 1,000 of. But he's been a really productive player for us, and it's not just the stat lines; it's all the other things that he does as well. And he's where he's supposed to be. He's when he's supposed to be there. He does his job and takes pride in we call them defensive assists. And you do your job so well, somebody else next to you has the opportunity to make a play. He does that at an extremely high level as well.
So what do you think has enabled him to get into the backfield so much, both running and passing plays? I think of that play against UAB where he drove that tackle. He was humongous, but he put that guy on roller skates and drove him right into the quarterback. And there's been many a time when he's just gotten that leverage and got underneath the guy's pad and just driven them back or run by them.
Yeah, I mean, he plays with great technique. He is a powerful young man now. I mean, he's got really strong hands. He's got a great 6-inch punch. He plays with excellent leverage. He's got his feet in the ground. Coach Hall's done an amazing job with him in terms of working on his technique and understanding what tools to use and when to use them. And I think the game slowed down for Jay Reed to the point where he can go out there and execute those things at a really high level. So I think there's a God-given ability, there's the work ethic, and then there's the teaching and technique that have gone into it. And I think he's got a great knack for using his tools and knowing when to use them.
Thanks, Pete.
Thank you.
Let's go to the president of the Dustin Reed fan club, Joe Miller.
I told Justin I recorded that message, the thing at media day when he talked about playing with just his hair on fire and all that stuff. I played it for my kid too, because I just love that answer, the way he plays. But one question for you, Coach. We talked a little bit about this in the game Saturday, and just wanted to sort of follow up. Is it always on the substitution, when a team substitutes, on late in the play clock? Is it always an automatic for you guys to then sub as well? But how do you handle that situation?
I don't want to give away state secrets or anything. But,
no, you could just say no. It's not an automatic to always substitute.
Sometimes we just need to match personnel. So like it's just getting the best guys, in the situation to really match the offensive personnel. That's probably the best answer for you.
And off of that, like when we talk about obviously we saw on Saturday that you guys, played a little bit more. And I granted, I'm sure that the fact that you guys played 90+ snaps against Memphis was part of that. But did you go in with that philosophy, or does the game sort of dictate sort of substitution patterns sometimes?
Yeah, we went in with that as the plan, and the game also lent itself to that as well. We played a lot of 2s and 3s basically the entire fourth quarter, which is the third time we've done that this year, which is awesome, and mind numbing, and turns my hair gray as well at times. But it's an awesome deal to get guys out there that deserve to be out there, and to get those game reps. We just talked about Justin Reed and the game slowing down for him because he started to play so much football and he understands those things. Like every rep that a guy gets, it's gold. It's all a chance to learn. It's all opportunity. The first time under the lights, the first time in the big stadium like that, there's a lot of anxiousness that comes with those things. And the more and more you do it, the more and more you get out there, the slower the game becomes, the more comfortable you become out there. I think a lot of times guys don't realize how critical every rep, every technique is until they're actually put into the fire. And then they're like, holy smokes, like everybody's good. Everybody's fast. These guys are working really hard as well. Like it's a lot different than just going up against the look team every week. It's a lot different than high school. It's a lot different than prep school. So, all those opportunities that we get, they're gold for our guys. And I know that's a little bit of a long-winded answer, but I think it's been really important for us, to get more guys out there and for those guys to have those opportunities. And trust me, they haven't all gone well. Like they have not all gone well, but guys will learn from those and they'll move on and they'll understand the issues that could happen and make adjustments to that. And it gives us a chance to evaluate a lot of guys on the football team.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Pete Medhurst, we got about 9 minutes left.
Coach, we talked about the stars, the guys that analytically quantify themselves every week, like Colin, like Ray, Justin Reed. But some other guys this year have had an opportunity with increased responsibility. Guys like Whiteside, Ryan, Griffin Willis now being also asked to spell Landon at that position. Thoughts on the way they have obviously adapted to new responsibilities right now and played for you through the first 4 games?
Yeah, I think number one, all those guys you mentioned are tough dudes that I think Coach Hall's done a great job with those guys, getting them to understand the types of blocks that they're going to see based off the techniques that we're playing. And I think they keep getting better and better. And I know I just talked about young guys getting reps and how critical all those things are. It's the same thing. Like those guys are the guys that I'm talking about. Kendall's started 4 games now. It's starting to slow down for him a little bit. Griff has had an opportunity to play in 4 games. Tyler's more of a veteran, but seeing an increased role now and doing a great job, plays our style of football. I've been really pleased with those guys, and they probably wouldn't tell you that, based off of our conversations, but I think they just keep getting better and better. And I really think Coach Hall does an amazing job with those guys up front, and we just got to keep putting them in positions to be successful. And I think they'll just continue to grow.